Welcome to Data Warehouse Migration Without the Migraine, featuring Actian and our migration partner Impetus. In this video, we will start with a brief overview of Actian Avalanche Hybrid Cloud Data Warehouse and explain why it should be your modern solution of choice to migrate from your legacy data warehouse, such as Netezza, Teradata, and Oracle Exadata. Then we will invite our partner Impetus to speak about their migration expertise and how their automation tools and services can make your migration experience truly seamless and without migraine. We will close with a demo of migrating from Teradata to Avalanche as an example. So what is Actian Avalanche and what sets it apart from other cloud data warehouses? Avalanche is an ACID compliant MPP columnar data warehouse. It uses standard ANSI SQL. It's fully managed and also very automated in terms of management, monitoring, and security. So we'll be doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes. We are a performance leader in orders of magnitude greater than our competition, and this is at enterprise scale. So we've done some independent benchmark studies that show us indisputably as the leader, and I'll be sharing some of the results with you shortly. It's truly hybrid, so that means we can run on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, also your own private cloud, and on premises in your own data center. So with that, you have the flexibility of just moving pieces of your enterprise architecture into the cloud according to your timeline. So you're not locked into just going with one particular cloud vendor or stuck on an on-premises system. And this is great because it lowers the risk of migration because if you don't have to jump into the cloud in one big splash. And because of the architecture of the product, we're able to offer unbeatable cost savings. And a lot of that's due to the fast performance I alluded to. But basically, you can do more with less. You end up being able to do a lot more with the same amount of resources than as compared to other solutions. And it's also elastically scalable up and down, so you pay only for what you use. And so for instance, depending on your business need, you may start with an 8-node cluster, and you can scale up to 16 and scale back down to 8 if the demands decrease. And then you also have separation of storage and compute. So you can take advantage of cheap cloud storage and reduce your costs that way. And native integration templates. So we offer a comprehensive built-in integration capability with our cloud data warehouse. So we have pre-built templates to popular SaaS applications like Salesforce. We include over 200 connectors, so you can move your data in really quickly to Avalanche and get started. So as I mentioned, we're the fastest database engine out there. Studies after studies have shown that. And the reason for that is really our performance has been a design goal of ours from the very inception of the product. The latest example of this comes from GigaOM Research, who is a respected independent analyst firm. And just this October of 2020, they compared 5 cloud data warehouse vendors based on price and performance. And the vendors included Avalanche, Snowflake, Amazon Redshift, Azure Synapse, and Google BigQuery. And they ran a TPCH benchmark study, 24 queries that best simulate your typical enterprise workload. And you can see some of the results here. Basically, Snowflake were 8 times faster than Snowflake, 6 times more cost effective. So basically that means if you run the same workload on Avalanche and Snowflake, it'll end up costing you about 6 times less to run it on Avalanche. And if cost isn't as important, but performance is more important, that means that at the same cost, Avalanche will perform 6 times better than Snowflake. So you have 2 levers to work with, price and performance. And you can see this is just against Snowflake, but we beat the competition, all of them. And you can see the quote from GigaOM: Avalanche is a clear industry leader in this regard. And the best news is you get this performance out of the box. So you don't need to hire an army of DBAs to do special tuning. And we are truly hybrid. So what's considered hybrid today, I mean, that word gets thrown around a lot. You can basically run on premises and in the cloud. But what we consider truly hybrid is it's one common fabric, just one seamless experience across all deployments. So not just about, deploying in the cloud and on premises, but being able to offer that common experience using the same UI, same technology, the same platform. So what this means for you, it means, you can migrate your apps and data to the cloud at your own pace. So you can retain your legacy on-prem applications for as long as you need, and you still reap the benefits of cloud deployment, like elasticity and separation of compute and storage, because you can move some of it to the cloud. So that was a brief introduction to Avalanche, and I'll hand over to our partner Impetus to explain how easily that migration can be performed to Actian.
So thanks for having me. Excited to be here. My name is Matt Phoenix. I'm a director at Impetus, and today we'll talk to you about our end-to-end automated migration solution for Actian Avalanche. So just to kick things off, I wanted to give a short overview of our business. We've been in business for over 25 years, and really our primary focus is helping customers adopt modern data frameworks and technologies. We also are very focused on helping our customers build data-driven applications with the ultimate goal of driving top-line revenue or reducing operating costs. The fastest growing line of business at Impetus is the data platform modernization practice, which has been where we've been working with our customers for more than 10 years on helping them accelerate and de-risk transformation projects of legacy data platforms to modern data environments. What really makes us unique as a migration service provider is that we have developed a technology solution that automates the data and workload transformation, which ultimately reduces time, risk, and costs of these projects by leveraging AI automation and eliminating as much human error out of these projects as possible. Having worked on so many of these modernization projects over the years, we saw a reoccurring theme. That reoccurring theme spawned what we call the Impetus Workload Transformation Solution. The solution is really two parts. It's a methodology we refer to as the 4-click paradigm, and it's also a transformation engine which automates the conversion of legacy code and logic to run on the new target modern platform. This drastically accelerates and de-risks these transformation projects. The 4-click paradigm follows 4 project stages: the assessment stage, the transformation stage, the validation stage, and finally the execution stage. Within the assessment stage, we will automatically profile your legacy environment and identify and prioritize the migration. This also helps us understand what workloads can be automatically converted versus one that might need some manual intervention. The transformation stage is where we're actually taking the legacy code and business logic that has been built up in your legacy system over the years and automatically transforming and translating that over to code and business logic that works and is supported by the target platform. During the validation stage, which is actually one of the longest and most painful parts of a manual migration effort. Here, we're actually automatically validating and certifying that the data, the metadata, and the workloads have been successfully transformed, and that the performance is as expected based on the defined SLAs. And finally, we produce a production-ready workload that is ready for execution within the target platform. Now, at the core of Impetus's approach is our transformation engine. This is really our secret sauce. This is something that we've built and tuned with our customers over the years. It has the ability to take the legacy code, understand that the syntax of that code, and produce corresponding output syntax for the target platform that you're migrating to. The idea here is that it's not a one-to-one translation. It's truly a transformation engine because we've built intelligence into the engine that to figure out not only how to transform the code, but how do we transform it in a way that's optimized for the target environment. What else is unique about the engine is that it's a learning engine. So for example, if there are patterns within your environment that our engine cannot recognize or can't provide automation for out of the gate, those patterns are then added back into our engine, which will allow for higher levels of automation as we move through the different phases of the project. So as a result, our customers are seeing an average of over 50% reduction in total effort. Obviously there's different percentages of reduction, effort reduction based on the automation that we provide through the different phases of the migration project. But this is ultimately not only just getting them to their endpoint faster, but it's also driving significant cost savings. So now that you have an overview or an understanding of our approach and our solution, I'd actually like to take you through a demo of the technology that we use to support these engagements. So this is Impetus Workload Transformation. It's a web-based tool that can be deployed on-prem or in the cloud. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to walk you through the solution and how it maps to the four-click paradigm approach that I had previously talked about. The first step is the assessment step. There's really two ways that this assessment can be performed. The first is that the customer can send the various artifact outputs from the legacy environment that we need to perform this analysis. And we can run that analysis within our environment. The second way that this can be performed is we can actually, if we can actually implement the workload transformation solution behind the customer's firewall and read directly from their source system. So if there's any security constraints for sending us artifacts that we require, we can certainly do this behind your firewall as well. Starting out with the first phase, we have the assessment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through an output of a Teradata environment that we analyzed. So the first thing I'd like to draw your eyes to here is the queries that have been analyzed as part of this assessment. So you'll see that we have over 15,000 queries from this Teradata environment that have been analyzed. What's really important here is that we identify right off the bat that a little over 5,000 of them are unique queries. So what this means is that right out of the gate, we're identifying redundancy within your environment. This is extremely important because now we just reduced the scope and the overall effort by identifying what are the unique queries that need to be transformed and moved over to the target environment. If in a manual process, if you were to assume that everything within your Teradata environment would be lifted and shifted up into Avalanche, that adds a significant amount of unnecessary scope to the project, as well as adds it's essentially a garbage in, garbage out type of output. Things that are unnecessary, you don't really want to put them into the target environment that you're going to. The second thing that I'd like to point out is that there's a number of additional dashboards here where we can understand query types, query constraints, various entities. We're also looking at CPU and I/O utilization. And we're also able to understand the most resource-consuming applications and users. Each one of these dashboards are drillable. So if I click on query types, for example, it will bring me to a page where I can actually look at all of the individual queries that were analyzed. What's really important here is that we are applying a complexity score to each one of these queries. This complexity score is created based on a proprietary algorithm that we have. And really what the purpose of this is to identify and bucket workloads into complexity groups where we know that based on the complexity group that it gets bucketed into, that we can either know that that workload can be fully automated and transformed to the modern environment, or that we can get some level of automation in transforming that workload, but there might need to be some manual tuning on the back end. Or the third bucket is really where we identify workloads that might be candidates for complete re-engineering, mainly because they just weren't built to be supported in that new target environment, and really should be considered for a complete re-architecture, re-engineering. I'd also like to point you to this. So if we look at recommendations here, we can actually see the complexity buckets that I was referring to before. So, basically what this engagement produces is a complete analysis of inventory objects, query level redundancy, complexity of workloads, workload interdependencies, utilization and capacity needs, top resourcing consuming applications, and as an output, what we will provide you is a detailed assessment report, a target architecture design, and a migration plan, migration and project plan. So moving on, and keeping that four-step paradigm, four-click paradigm in mind, we'll move on to and show you a migration pipeline of some Teradata data and workloads that have been transformed to Actian Avalanche. So here you're going to see that we have a 5-stage pipeline consisting of a data migration, a translation step, a data validation step, an execution step, as well as a final validation step. We can actually look at this pipeline, and we can see a visual representation of this pipeline. The green checkboxes indicate that each step has completed successfully. And then we could start looking at the output of each of these, each of the stages in the pipeline. So if I start with the migration step, we can see that we have a number of tables that have been successfully migrated, and that the data, the schemas, the views have been migrated to the target platform. If we look at the second step, the translation step, we can see that in this pipeline there were a total of 18 queries that were transformed. We can see that all of them were successfully transformed, and that we achieved 100% automated transformation. We can actually scroll down and look into the specific translations in more detail, where you can see the original queries as well as the translated queries for each one of these. And if there are modifications that need to be made, the migration engineer can actually make those modifications directly in this environment and do any sort of performance tuning that's required or that they feel is necessary. I'll move on to the next step, which is the data validation step. Here we're validating that the data has been successfully migrated over and applying specific data validation functions to that, and we can see that that step has been successful. The execution step, which is where we have confirmed that the translated scripts have been successfully executed on the target platform. And then finally, we have one last validation where we're actually validating that and applying a number of different validation functions to certify and confirm that not only that the data has been successfully migrated, but that the transformed code has been transformed correctly and successfully meets the defined performance SLAs required. So that, in a nutshell, is the Impetus Workload Transformation Solution and our approach to automating and accelerating these modernization projects. I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for that great presentation and demo. If anyone is interested in learning more about Avalanche, I encourage you to visit our website at www.actian.com/avalanche, where you can start a free trial of Avalanche with a $500 credit. We also offer a complimentary migration workshop. If you're interested, please email Actian Solution Advisors at asa@actian.com. Thank you.